It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. A serious risk to your health and a blight on the countryside. Sky News reveals the toxic chemicals leaking from illegal waste dumps. Air 4 times more toxic than the fumes from a car exhaust. One of these dumps is in Andy Burnham's own constituency. From local residents to leading scientists, we'll hear the call for action. Plus, the Prime Minister says he'll review the prison early release scheme after the widow of PC Andrew Harper brands it deplorable. One of the world's richest men, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, is in talks to buy a stake in Liverpool Football Club. And a ticket to ride. Sir Paul McCartney puts in a surprise appearance for Beatles fans on a bus tour. All that's come and much more on the UK Tonight. Hello, good evening. Now, over the past 6 months, Sky News has been working with scientists to test the air, water and soil at 3 of the country's biggest illegal waste dumps. What we have found is alarming. A toxic mix of hundreds of chemicals that pose a serious risk to health. Some of the substances that were detected can cause liver and kidney damage. Others have been linked to cancer. We'll speak to Dan Whitehead in just a moment, but first, let's watch his report.
This is completely unethical, unmoral degradation of the environment and potentially health risks to the general public.
For the first time, we've uncovered what's hidden in plain sight.
You've got this very complex, heady chemical soup going on.
A toxic mix buried in illegal waste that could pose a serious risk to our health.
If my children are breathing in all that, what is that doing to them long term?
Dangerous, even banned chemicals.
That's far worse than certainly anything I'd contemplated.
And a call for urgent action.
What's the point of having environmental agencies if they don't do anything or don't seem to be doing anything?
Amid an illegal waste crisis, this is what lies beneath.
For years now, we have been investigating the growing number of illegal waste sites across the country. During that time, the rubbish has been festering, leaching into water, literally burning in to the countryside air. Over the last 6 months, we've been working with a team of scientists to try and uncover what this rubbish is made up of and potentially what harm it's causing.
The village of Over, near Gloucester. 100,000 tonnes of waste has been building up on this field next to a river. It's so big, it frequently sets on fire.
Okay, well, there's a lot of smoke.
Yeah, you can smell it as well. It's a very strong sort of plasticky smell coming out of there.
I mean, this is just deeply combusting right underneath, isn't it?
The acrid smoke can be smelt by those living in the nearby village of Hynham. Last summer, children at the primary school there had to be kept indoors.
Just in this dip here, where we'll get a view down over the whole thing.
There are nearly 600 active illegal waste sites across England. To understand the environmental and health impact they're having, we've tested at 3 of the biggest. In Gloucester, Ranskill near Doncaster, and in Wigan, a dump that sits in the constituency of the new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. Collectively, they make up more than 170,000 tonnes of waste.
This is a mixture of commercial and domestic waste that's being processed, shredded and dumped.
And after months of analysis, the results are in.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
10 seconds.
Right, we've just got off the phone with the team of scientists who've been running the tests on all of the samples that we took at the 3 illegal waste sites, the air, the soil and the water. They say that they have found some really worrying stuff in those samples. They're suggesting that we head down to Southampton to their lab to find out exactly what they've uncovered.
The rapid screening has found strong matches for a huge list of dangerous chemicals.
How significant, how worrying are the things that you've found?
In short, very worrying. The bottom line is, here we have seen, by our identification process, hundreds of compounds which are of a concern that if you inhale them, certainly if you inhale them over a period of time, could well have significant health effects.
Hidden in the smoke in Gloucester, we found matches for 763 different chemicals. It is a huge number. A toxic mix that is 4 times higher than what you'd breathe in from a car exhaust. Among them, names such as styrene, ethylbenzene, chlorobenzene and naphthalene. All can cause breathing difficulties, burning eyes and nausea, with long-term exposure linked to neurological problems.
There are chemicals in that environment which should not be in that environment.
We presented our findings to one of the country's leading public health toxicologists.
Some of the strongest science which has come out is about how very low-level chemical exposures in populations over the long term have health effects which nobody predicted they would have. There is no argument that you should ignore this and hope the problem goes away.
While there's a toxic swirl of chemicals in Gloucester, the results up north are just as concerning.
So we're heading back up to Wigan. We're going to go and have a chat with Nisha. She was the resident who lives right next to the dump there. She spoke to us in January about the rats that have been infested in her house. One of her kids had to move out to his grandparents because he was so ill from the smell. We're going to go and meet with her and let her know what we found in the results.
We've got the official report, so it'd be great to run through, what we found and everything. The 20,000 tonnes of illegal waste in Wigan has rarely been out of the spotlight. There are plans to clean it up, but our water tests show new evidence of dangerous compounds. In Wigan, we found what could be a chemical called Demetin O, a pesticide that's been banned for decades. In Doncaster, there was a match for thanite, another banned pesticide. Both not approved for use in this country due to their toxicity and danger to human and animal life.
I think a lot of people don't think about what could be in there because we try not to. We're scared that, if we find out, we're not going to sleep at night. I'm just thinking back to when it was on fire last time. Obviously, we've got a back street that leads all the way up to the tip. The smoke was coming down the back street and straight into the school. So what did we inhale? Now, when that happened, I did end up in hospital with respiratory issues. I just put it down to smoke, but maybe it could have been the chemicals. Now, to think if that goes up again and we know that that's in there, we're going to be even more scared to stay in our homes, knowing that if that's burning and we've got all these chemicals that could give us, lifelong illnesses, it's just not acceptable.
The Environment Agency told Sky News it doesn't expect significant pollution from waste or water at the Wigan site, but says it is working to assess the environmental impacts. 60 miles east, 60,000 tonnes of waste in Ranskill near Doncaster. Rubbish first appeared here in May last year. As the lorries tipped illegally, locals say there were even security guards keeping watch.
You can see behind me that the criminals responsible for all this even ploughed and made their own road through the forest to be able to dump the rubbish here. And what our tests have found is a really toxic mix of chemicals. In the air samples, there's a chemical that may well be something called carbon tetrachloride. It was used in the past in things like dry cleaning and fire extinguishers, but it's phased out globally because it is so toxic. It can cause damage to liver and kidneys and even has links to cancer.
It is just, a line through trees wide enough for 2 wagons to get down.
Locals James and Dan have been monitoring the growing mountain of waste since it began.
Are you worried about the health impacts?
I'm worried about the health impact, I'm worried about the environmental impact, I'm worried about the overall consequence of that. Environmental impact doesn't just mean trees and grass and everything, it's the birds, it's the local inhabitants, it's rabbits, it's a whole shooting match. This has just been dumped. Who knows what the kids in the village are going to be breathing in 30, 40, 50 years.
It's important to say that the tests that we have done have been taken at source, in the smoke, in the middle of the pool of that toxic-looking water. What we don't know yet is just how diluted all that becomes when it reaches the village or the homes nearby, when it can be smelt. But speaking to people, what we do know is that there is an impact.
The village of Hynham lies just half a mile from the burning fumes near Gloucester. A large fire last summer impacted residents and the local primary school.
Sometimes we do have to close the windows, especially in the summer. We did smell it from the school, and obviously that impacts children when they're learning, and we've had to keep them from going outside at playtimes.
Helen's two kids, 7-year-old Elliot and 10-year-old Felix, both attend the school.
I just think it's absolutely shocking because it's very close to a big community and there are several local schools in the area, and just to think that that is what you're breathing in and you're completely unaware of it, the government are just turning a blind eye to it.
That's £6.80 then, please.
That feeling of a lack of action is echoed in the village shop.
It's anger and frustration, and why should people suffer from it, really? Because we don't know long-term effect of it. You know, children, growing up near it, it's not going to be good, is it? It's not like fresh air.
If I had a child in that school, would I be happy? And I wouldn't be. I would still have a niggling doubt in my mind that my children shouldn't be at a location where they're being exposed to illegally dumped chemicals at absolutely any level at all.
The hidden chemicals we've found are a danger on their own. But scientists say it's the huge number of compounds that poses the bigger risk.
We found a mixture of hundreds of chemicals. And that's more concerning to me than, let's say, one specific chemical at a very high concentration that we know to be harmful. And that's because environmental science and toxicological studies tell us that it's mixtures of contaminants that are the most difficult to investigate, but also probably have the largest impacts in terms of human health and ecosystems.
Our results also show there is a risk to wildlife. We know that the water runoff at the Gloucester site feeds into the nearby River Leddon and River Severn. In fact, across all three sites, the majority of chemicals in water were above PNEC levels. That stands for predicted no effect concentration. It is essentially the scientific safe level, above which there may be harmful effects to the environment. Our results showed Gloucester and Doncaster have the biggest likely risk to aquatic life, with 92 chemicals.
We presented all of our evidence to the government, and in response, the Environment Agency says its own scientists are now carefully considering our findings. It added that it's made 18 arrests linked to illegal waste dumps since April this year. The Department for the Environment told Sky News that it is giving the agency another £45 million over the next 3 years to tackle this growing problem.
Contaminated water posing a risk to wildlife, fumes in the air causing fear amongst locals. There is now an urgent call for more testing, more monitoring and more action.
What do you want the Environment Agency to do?
So personally, I would like the Environment Agency to act as quickly as they can, to tell it factually what is here and what isn't here, and what the long-term plan is going to be to make it better again.
Environmental toxicologists have often said we are concerned about this chemical and be poo-pooed about it, only for people to find out that 10 or 20 years down the line that actually the science was quite robust and we should have been much more precautionary than we had been at the time.
What can the ordinary person do about it? You're trapped and you're inhaling all this chemicals. It's not now, but is it going to cause long-term health problems and things? It's just not fair, and something needs to be done.
We're down here in the studio with me alongside Matt Brown from the Wildlife Trust. Good evening to you both. I'll come to you first. You've watched that report a number of times now, and, what jumps out is 763 different chemicals, a toxic mix 4 times higher than what you'd inhale from a car exhaust. I think that really brought it home to me, what these people are dealing with. And it's infiltrating the air, water and soil.
It's really worrying for wildlife. The report has set out why it's so concerning for people. Well, wildlife suffer from the same kind of damage. It's particularly concerning for water, and the water pollution effects are really, really damaging to our rivers. Our rivers are facing a whole barrage of threats at the moment, and this is the last thing they need, chemical pollution from illegal tips like this. As well as littering our landscape and damaging human health, these illegal tips are threatening our rivers and the wonderful wildlife that live within them.
Yeah, Dan, as you found out through your extensive reporting in this area, it's threatening the environment and the communities that are blighted by this. I mean, the drone shots over some of these sites that you and your team took show the sheer scale of what these people are having to deal with day to day.
Yeah, I mean, you can see from the image here, this is the village of Over. This is the largest of the 3 sites which we filmed at 100,000 tonnes, and it's a surreal place to visit because you come in from the road and on the surface of it, it just looks like scattered waste. It's only when you get to that edge that you realise you're sort of on top of a 10-metre mountain that is self-combusting, and yeah, there's real concerns for the wildlife. You can see the water flows into the floodplain goes into the River Leaden. That feeds the River Severn, just a couple of hundred metres down the way. But there are dog walkers around here. There's a kids' farm park in the background. They're very concerned as a business as well. And then the village, there's just a lot of question marks tonight. We've scratched the surface on those results. I think what the villagers want and what the scientists say should be done, and what the Environment Agency should do, is more testing to understand whether these low levels of concentrations travelling far are causing a risk to the public.
Yeah, Matt, in terms of, you know, the hope is that these sites will be cleared and the Environment Agency and the government say, you know, we're taking this seriously. They've got a waste crime action plan, but it's moving too slowly by the people and the countryside affected by this. But once this is cleared, the effects remain, and they're long-term.
Well, absolutely. You've just got to think of some of the dreadful images of oil slicks at the sea. Well, a similar thing is happening in rivers like this from pollution, from tips like that. What happens is it affects the wildlife across the whole range of the river, starting with insects, which might not seem the most exciting, but they're the basic block of the food chain in rivers. They die very quickly when damaging chemicals hit them. And then fish are directly affected. So, say, for example, hydrocarbon chemicals off tyres and a tip like that. That, when it hits fish, it erodes and rots their gills and they can't breathe. So that's a horrific death. And then further up the food chain, otters and herons over many years will eat these poisoned fish. The poison will accumulate in them, cause liver, organ damage, and they'll die as well. It's a hideous legacy of unnecessary suffering and death for our wildlife that pollution like this is causing, and it is essential we see action.
Dan, what's been the response to your report today? Because I heard a resident there that you were speaking to in one of the areas affected who basically questions the effectiveness of the Environment Agency. You know, where is the urgency on this issue?
Well, I mean, the site in Wigan, for instance, is being cleared, we understand, from around October. The government announced when we did a report in January there about allegations of a north-south divide. We'll all have heard of the site in Kidlington in Oxfordshire, which is being cleared up. A lot of people at Wigan, including Nisha, was like, well, hold on a minute, we've got all the same risks. Shortly after our report, the government announced, here's £10 million, we're going to clear up of taxpayers' money. I think the concern and the response we've had, especially from over here, is that this has been here for 7 years or so in the village of Over, and they have got used to it. And now we're uncovering, well, actually, how much of a risk is it posing, it being there so long? And there are plenty of locals who believe that it's simply never going to be cleared up. It's too much of a mammoth job.
And costly.
Huge cost. I think this would cost a lot more than the situation in Wigan. It's 5 times the size, but the environmental impact is far more. The longer it's there, the science says, the more impact it has on wildlife and humans.
Matt, what would your call to government and those who can make a difference be about this? Because, you know, 7 years, and this isn't the only site. Dan's explored a handful of them, but there are hundreds of these sites in various degrees of scale up and down the UK, and it's a problem that only seems to be getting worse, despite the government saying they are tackling it.
I think it's twofold. So firstly, the government has an opportunity. They promised on the water side to have a water bill coming through this autumn, and that should include a regulator that can deal with pollution like this and hold the perpetrators to account, and crucially make sure that when there's clean-up and the huge costs that you referred to, that it's the perpetrators who fund that, not the public. Secondly, as well, there's a longer-term issue, and the politicians love to talk about red tape causing issues. Well, actually, it's good regulation that can stop issues like this happening in the first place. And part of the reason why we've seen this increase in tips, like the ones you see behind you, it has been that the enforcement agencies have been underfunded. Starting to tackle that now, the 45 million that came through earlier this year is a start, but it's only by properly enforced regulations that we can keep the public safe from the activities of a criminal minority and the huge damage that they do to our wildlife and with it our natural heritage.
Yeah, I know the government, as part of their Waste Crime Action Plan, had been exploring giving the Environment Agency police-style powers to give some teeth to the sort of enforcement, because it's about prevention, enforcement and remediation. This all costs so much money, Dan.
It costs a lot of money, but it's also like, it's whack-a-mole, really, because what happens is these organised criminals will find a parcel of land. They might rent it from a farmer, they might buy it, cheap brownfield land, something that can't be built on, for instance. And then there's instances of them dividing it up into 500 different plots, and once it's filled, they're long gone, and it gets lost in a chain. Yeah. So really difficult for the Environment Agency to tackle. Lots of people say they simply don't have the money or the capacity. And what happens is, as soon as one site is full, or they've been caught, or a closure order gets put in, then these gangs simply move on to the next one.
Oh, Dan, thanks so much. Dan Whitehead there with that top report this evening, and Matt Brown, Head of Public Affairs for the Wildlife Trust. Really good to see you both. Thank you so much. Right, let's bring you some breaking news about a government minister. Mike Tapp, Minister for Migration and Citizenship, or was. He has announced that he has left his post. Mike Tapp leaving his post as Minister for Migration and Citizenship, saying, "For me, service has always meant putting the country first, and I'm proud to have approached this role with that principle at its heart. Every decision I made in the Home Office began with my top priority and national security. Our immigration system is also about people. That is why compassion must sit alongside firmness, striking the right balance to protect our country, support our economy and uphold confidence in the system." His statement then goes on to talk about some of the measures he implemented during his time there at the Home Office. He says, "I am disappointed to be leaving government, but I have no regrets remaining loyal to Keir Starmer until the end. This Labour government must succeed. For the good of our country, I will be working every single day to help deliver for the British people." The tone of that resignation statement suggesting that Mike Tapp was sacked from his position as Migration Minister. He has now left that role and left government. Well, we're going to head to the break in just a moment, but staying on environmental matters, we want to show you the impact of the recent hot weather. We are going through, or coming to the end of, our third heat wave here in the UK. Much of the UK on the brink of drought. This is Hyde Park in London. You saw it there on the 27th of April before the heat waves. This, the same area, on the 20th of July. We could bring you scenes from Nottingham. This is Woollerton Park. Again, on the 29th of April. This is the same park on the 17th of July. And Ashton Court Estate in Bristol, looking lush on the 30th of April. A different story on the 17th of July. So that is just a visual indicator of the impact of the hot weather. Still to come on the UK tonight. We'll be on the buses, why passengers in England can look forward to a £2 maximum fare. And we'll be hearing what it was like for Beatles fans on a Liverpool bus who got a surprise appearance from Sir Paul McCartney.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul. Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
The new Prime Minister Andy Burnham has pledged to cap bus fares at £2 across England from January. Andy Burnham says the move will help put money in people's pockets and says it will be funded by reprioritising the government's budget. Our Chief North of England correspondent Greg Milam has this report.
Ask bus passengers in Manchester what they think about the £2 cap on fares that Andy Burnham introduced, and they're all on board.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Bus fare has been really expensive for years and it's only just come down over the last couple of years. It's now cheaper for me to get around than it was 10 years ago.
Trying to get people out of cars and go on buses and that, so yeah, it's encouraging. So yeah, I'd rather it stay at £2.
I think this idea of the buses being at £2 is affordable, and it gives the pensioners a chance to go visit Manchester, Bury, Wigan, all on £2 expense.
It's why the new Prime Minister wants to spread that saving nationwide.
It was hugely popular because it's simple, but it saves people money every day. So I think it will really help people with the cost of living pressures they're facing. It's there for the whole of 2027, and I think it will put money in people's pockets.
But capping fares at £2 is all well and good if you can find a bus that you want to get on. This map from the Campaign for Better Transport shows the areas of England where that's a problem. The yellow areas need more bus stops, the amber has gaps in service, the red has severe gaps in service. One of those red areas is around Ecclesfall in Staffordshire. The bus timetable tells the story of how few buses there are in such a rural area. So do the locals.
I once saw one.
What, a bus?
I once saw a bus.
You've seen one here?
Yeah, we do see them occasionally, very occasionally. Yes, yes. A £2 fare would be good, but you've got to have the buses.
One on a Friday
No,
to
we
Newport.
don't have any
Do we have
anymore.
that Wednesday? Don't we have? Oh gosh, I'm out of date. Don't have any then.
I think around here the biggest problem is there aren't enough of the buses in the first place. So.
Campaigners say 1 in 7 people in England live in places that don't meet the minimum baseline for service.
We know, in fact, that all that's required to get those areas out of the red, as it were, into a reasonable level of bus service is just £500 million a year, in fact. Even a bit less than that, and we'll get to that level. So it's not great figures. We can really get people to a great level of bus service provision. We think the next step after this bus fare cap is to really build on that and ensure that everybody has access to buses.
There are questions too about how this cap will be funded and how many operators will participate, because they can opt out. Changes in Manchester did result in a huge increase in public satisfaction with their bus services. Easing the cost of living nationwide is a whole different matter altogether. Greg Milam, Sky News.
Well, from buses in Manchester to Liverpool, where fans on a Beatles tour were given quite the surprise earlier this week. The magical mystery tour bus had a chance encounter when it pulled up at traffic lights, only to be stopped next to a car that contained the one and only Sir Paul McCartney. Not only that, but Sir Paul was on a video call to Ringo Starr. You couldn't make it up. Sir Ringo Starr, I should say. Both of them have knighthoods, of course. And they are kings in Liverpool. I'm glad now to say that I'm joined by Tony Curley, the tour guide on the magical mystery tour. Good to see you. Just how rare is it to spot a Beatle in the wild?
Well, Paul does come back to the city on quite a regular basis because he has his Fame Academy in Liverpool, LIPA, the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts. So he's normally back in the city at least once a year. But it is rare.
Well, rare to get one, but to get two, he just happened to be video calling Ringo Starr. Talk to me about the circumstances of that, your bus pulling up alongside his car.
Well, we were on the first tour of the day and we were just coming towards the end of the tour. So we were driving down Hope Street in Liverpool And as we were coming towards the traffic lights, someone pulled the window down in the car, which we didn't know was Paul McCartney at the time. But he starts flagging us down. So we stopped at the lights. And then the driver, Neil, said, "It's Paul McCartney." So I was talking on the microphone. I went, "Paul McCartney." So everyone behind was saying, "Oh, he's only joking." And I said, "No, it really is Paul McCartney." And not only that, he's on a Zoom to Ringo Starr. So it was one of them real magical moments.
And somebody very quick with their camera or their phone to snap that shot that we've seen on the screen to prove it was real. I mean, the early bird really, does catch the Beatle in Liverpool. First ride of the day, a 2-for-1 deal for passengers. What was their reaction?
Oh, they were absolutely ecstatic. Well, I think Paul's seen us coming down Hope Street, and I think he's just done that just to have a little giggle over it. So as the Magical Mystery Bus was coming towards him, I think he's just got on the FaceTime to Ringo and said to Ringo, "Oh, look, Ringo, here's the Magical Mystery Tour coming past now." So.
Tony, you say that Sir Paul McCartney comes back to the city a lot. Do you know what he was doing in the city on this particular
Yeah, he was doing the graduations for Lipper. So normally every July, since 1996, I think the only time he's missed it was in the lockdown, but he comes back every July without fail. But he always comes back and gives master classes as well to the students. So
yeah,
it's a real big deal in Liverpool.
Yeah, he's never forgotten his roots. I mean, Tony, you're a man out and about in Liverpool. You've been doing this tour for 2 years now. You know all about the Beatles. Have you ever met the man himself?
No, not personally.
But this could be the start of something if he knows what your bus looks like. I mean, I've not seen a picture of the bus. What does it look like? Is it pretty obvious?
Yeah, it's a pretty colourful bus, the Magical Mystery Tour bus. So you can't really miss the bus. That's what I'm thinking. He must have seen it from way down the road.
What has the reaction been like? Because I would imagine this is incredible publicity for you in terms of, look, if you come on our Magical Mystery Tour, you might just spot a Beatle.
Yeah, well, we always say that on the Magical Mystery Tour. You never know who you're going to bump into in Liverpool. It's just one of them iconic moments. But to be honest with you, it does happen. We do see famous people in Liverpool.
Oh, yeah, go on. Who else have you spotted? I mean, I think you've got the top prize there, haven't you? 2 Beatles.
Oh, definitely. That's topped it all, that one, without a doubt. Well, Stephen Graham was here in the city as well, funnily enough. He was getting an award off Paul McCartney as well. So I did actually see him yesterday in town as well. So
that's all right. You can name drop. We like it.
Stephen Graham actually comes from where I live in Kirby. So
you should give him a free ride on the bus. See if you get Paul McCartney
I wish he would come on the bus. We'd be made up to have him on the bus. So
there you go. It's an open invitation right here on Sky News.
It's definitely an open invitation.
Yeah, indeed. And to Paul McCartney and to Sir Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr actually put you on his Instagram page. I spotted that earlier on.
Yeah, I believe so. You know what? My phone's been going mad today. People are sending me all kinds of notices, but it's just amazing. It's really good for the city. It's good for the Magical Mystery Tour, and it's good for the Cavern Club as well. So it's just one of them magical moments on the Magical Mystery Tour.
Indeed. I mean, they wrote it well, and it's living up to its promise. Listen, Tony, thank you so much for coming on to tell us the story. Tony Curley, their tour guide on the Magical Mystery Tour, where they spotted not 1, but 2 Beatles in the city that is so famous because of them and all the other greats that have come out of Liverpool, including Tony. Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye. Right, still to come here on the programme. The Prime Minister says he will review the early prison release scheme. We'll have details of that next.
Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, what will you say next to Benjamin Netanyahu? In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent. I've interviewed some of America's most recognisable politicians. Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from the UK?
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
Mr Walker, you're anti-abortion, but 2 women say that you paid for their abortions. Are you a hypocrite, sir?
Connor, what did you say to the President? What did you say?
We had a great meeting. He was a great man.
I'm David Blevins, one of Sky's US correspondents based in Washington, D.C. David Blevins from Sky News. Fire chiefs say that they're really stretched to the limit and running out of water. What have you got to say to that?
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here.
Why only in America? Why is this American exceptionalism?
I just want to understand why you do not think that guns are the problem.
Why is this just an American problem?
The anger too, and the division.
Where are you from?
From Sky News, UK.
Yeah.
Back up.
Mr Navarro, can
I'm allowed to ask questions, aren't I?
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding, Mr Musk. Has your ego and ignorance, sir, cost Ukrainian lives?
David Cameron needs to worry about his own country, and frankly, he can kiss my ass.
Mr Patel, did you endanger public safety when you said the killer was in custody?
Free wherever you get your news.
What words do you have for Harry Dunn's family today?
Have a nice day.
Do you fear a 4th indictment? Is it a draw?
People that pod together, they have a little hive brain going on.
They've not had a good week.
I've had a good week.
There's a teaser there, a teaser.
Oof. OK, nothing to see here. Drama over. Full stop. Anyway, we'll get to that. She will be mortified.
She's the first female chancellor.
I popped upstairs, made myself a cheese sandwich, and now I'm with you.
Analyse has come dressed in the magenta of electoral dysfunction. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's bring you some breaking news, and it's another departure from government. This is Al Carnes, who you may remember resigned as the Armed Forces Minister with concerns over the defence budget at the time. He was then touted as a potential leadership rival to Sir Keir Starmer when all of that talk was underway about an Andy Burnham return to government and a potential leadership run. We are now in a position where Andy Burnham is the new Prime Minister, and Al Carnes has said that after a good conversation with the Chief Whip today, where she offered me a return to government, after careful thought, I declined with respect and with thanks. He said, I resigned in June because I didn't believe the defence spending on the table was adequate for the threats this country faces. I said so publicly, and I still stand by every word. I've always said I would serve where I am asked. In normal circumstances, that's exactly what I would do, but the argument I resigned over has not yet been settled. He says, he goes on to say the appointment of John Healey, former Defence Secretary, of course, as Chancellor, changes the picture in one important respect. John resigned for the same reasons I did. He's a man of his word, and he has made it clear that he will deliver on the commitments that led him to leave government in the first place. The Prime Minister knows exactly what John stands for, and that appointment is meaningful, and I welcome it. He goes on to say, Birmingham Selly sent me here to deliver for them. He is, of course, their MP, and that is where my focus remains. So that is Al Carnes saying he was asked to return to government but declined the offer. Well, Andy Burnham says he will review the early prisoner release scheme. This is amid growing outrage over the plan to ease overcrowding in jails. It comes after reports today suggested that 2 of the killers of PC Andrew Harper could be amongst those freed early. His widow has called that possibility deplorable. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, has this report.
I'm arresting both of you on suspicion of murder.
It was a crime that shocked the nation. This was the arrest of killers of 28-year-old PC Andrew Harper, who was dragged by a getaway car for more than a mile along country roads in Berkshire after he'd gone to investigate the theft of a quad bike. His ankles were caught in a tow rope loop. He was 28, married for just a month. Now his distraught mother has received a letter from the Ministry of Justice telling her 2 of his killers, jailed in 2020 for 13 years for manslaughter, could be released early to ease prison overcrowding. She says it's an insult. The pair, Jessie Cole and Albert Bowers, who were 17 at the time of the crime, were accomplices in the car, driven by Henry Long, who was jailed for 16 years and is not eligible for early release.
I've got to sit, I think, very, very hot.
Under Labour's 2026 Sentencing Act, set to come into force in September, up to 6,000 offenders could be released early in England and Wales. But as senior Tories claimed releasing PC Harper's killers would be a travesty of justice, the Prime Minister promised a review of the policy.
I feel for the family it's an appalling crime that was committed. The main perpetrator will not be subject to any early release. Of course, others involved have potentially been identified, but I've spoken to the new Justice Secretary. We will review the policy together and make further statements in due course.
The new PM also said ministers apparently joking about early release when they gathered for his first cabinet meeting was not acceptable. In an emotional statement, PC Harper's widow Lissy said it had taken years to rebuild a life torn apart. It's deplorable to me that we've reached a point where releasing prisoners early is even considered acceptable, she said. Andrew deserves better. Every victim deserves better. And the British public deserve a justice system they can have faith in. She also said that when she fought for Harper's Law, a mandatory life sentence for killing emergency workers while committing a crime, she was supported not only by the then Conservative government, but by Labour too. A former Tory minister commissioned by Labour to make recommendations on early release said prison overcrowding couldn't be ignored.
When you start to look at the prison overcrowding crisis that the country faced a year or so ago, it was necessary to take action and come forward with proposals that addressed it and also prevents future crises from happening again.
But PC Harper's widow says for victims' families this is not about politics, but whether justice is something people can truly believe in.
Well, let's speak to rape survivor and campaigner Jade Belgrave, who joins us now. Jade, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this important subject tonight. An intervention of sorts from the new Prime Minister. He says he's going to review the early release policy, saying, I can't say that I can change the policy, but I will look at it in detail before we go further forward. What do you want from Andy Burnham, Jade?
Obviously, myself and other survivors, we do welcome that review, but he hasn't promised anything. There's no saying that rapists and paedophiles and sex offenders are going to stay in prison, and that's what we need. We need a safer community. We need a safer country, and letting these people out it's going to be disastrous.
Yeah. Can you just explain to me how it makes you feel that, you know, as of September, when this Sentencing Act comes in, prisoners who are released early will only have served 33% in many cases of their sentence?
Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking. Like, all we've done as victims and survivors is fight to be heard, fight to be seen, fight for our justice. And now we're having this, or can potentially have this, completely taken away from us. It makes you feel so little and so unworthy, to be honest.
PC Harper's wife, Lissy, because, of course, this has come to Andy Burnham's attention today because of PC Andrew Harper and the fact that two of those involved in his death could be released early under this new act. She said Andrew deserves better, as do all victims. For victims and their families, this is not about politics. It's about whether a sentence means what a judge says it means. Justice has to be something we believe in, or is it something that could be negotiated away when it becomes inconvenient? For you, has Lissy really encapsulated what those affected are feeling today?
Yeah, 100%. I've said from the start, this is so beyond politics. It's a decision between right and wrong. the right thing to do is to keep these prisoners where we were promised for the crimes they have committed, because we all live a life now which is completely changed, completely different, and to some extent, as horrible as it is, our lives were ruined, and we will never be that person. We will never be the person we were before, and we will never get that back. But what we can and did get was justice, and taking this away from us it's disgusting.
Jodie, what are your personal concerns about the man who raped you being eligible for early release? Because you yourself got one of those letters that hundreds of survivors have been getting over recent weeks and months.
Yeah, I did. So where in constituent to me, he is 10 minutes down the road. I've been told they're doing them in bulks, which means my exclusion zones might not even be looked at. No safety things will be put into place. And this is from people who've already spoke to their VLOs who were in the first batch in September. So I have no reassurance of my safety. I have no reassurance of my family's safety. I just feel completely on my own and so lonely with it all.
Mm. Jodie, I'm so sorry. There are so many other women and survivors in your situation right now. What would you say to Andy Burnham if you could reach him this evening?
I plead with him to do the right thing by the country, do the right thing by the victims and for future victims, because there will be so many more if he lets this law go through.
Jade, I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much. I know it's difficult to speak about, but given what's at stake for you and so many other survivors, I really appreciate you taking the time and the courage to come on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jade Belgrove there. Thank you. I will have more coming up after the break. Stay with us.
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
There seems to be some sort of a shooting, what appear to be shots fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
It was a jam-packed interview. I'll tell you what he told me, and I'll explain why you can't hear the call.
100 days in and back with the grassroots of this MAGA movement.
It feels a little bit like he's a king, not a president.
He is a king.
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here, but the anger too.
These immigration rates?
Unbelievable we've come to this.
I'm observing what you're doing.
This post of Trump, it's a big shift. It's very positive.
Have you seen what Donald Trump's been up to? In the Rose Garden, in the East Wing.
I bet right now you often find yourself asking why. Why was a certain decision taken? Why did something happen? Why did they say or do that? I'm Neil Patterson, and it's my job as a journalist to find out why. Just explain why.
It's a difficult one.
Well, I mean, it's massive.
It's a very, very severe situation.
So if you want to make sense of this complicated world, Sky News' new podcast, This Is Why, is your daily fix. One story every day, and we can find out why together. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter? Perfect. Let's bring you some breaking news. Being a Sky News presenter. I began by asking,
Thank you so much.
trusting us to tell her story. The battle for number 10. Sky News has been given exclusive access. Let me give you a sneak peek. It was the day those present would never forget. Why did you decide to open up and tell your story?
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
And Jess is here with me because we're going to chat sport. And there's been an interesting development potentially for Liverpool today. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, you'll know him well, has been approached by a consortium that is looking to buy part of the football club. Sky News understands Bezos has held discussions about joining a syndicate of investors led by former QPR co-owner Amit Bhatia. So what might this mean for the future of Liverpool. Let's talk to the co-host of the Anfield Wrap podcast, John Gibbons, who joins us now. John, good to see you. Details quite thin on the ground at the moment. It sounds like any developments are in their early stages. What's been the initial reaction from Liverpool fans?
Surprise, really. Liverpool have been seeking, well, apparently minor investment for a long time, but this first one came out of nowhere. And then when Jeff Bezos' name gets thrown in, you just do have to sort of laugh, really. We don't know how serious it is. We don't know how likely it is, but it does seem to have come out of nowhere. And we're in silly season with transfers, but we didn't necessarily think it was going to be the case with owners as well. But here we are. So, like you say, thin on detail. We'll see how it emerges over the next few days.
Well, yeah, look, you know, silly season is upon us, but let's get the serious detail. Jess, we don't know much, but what do we know?
Well, the details, you're right, are very thin on the ground at the moment. I think what's interesting, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, John, is the fact that Jeff Bezos, if he is to be involved in this consortium, hasn't invested in sport before. Does that worry you?
Yeah, it does, yeah, because you don't know what his motivations are. You don't know what he's looking to get from it, really. I can't imagine he's doing it to make money because he has plenty and football clubs normally lose it rather than make it. So what is he trying to do? Has he got the football bug from the World Cup and wants to do a little bit more, or is it about publicity for himself? So while those questions are there, really, you don't really know. And then if he was to own, you know, part of the football club, how much would that be? So I think from an ownership point of view, you know, it's worth saying from Liverpool point of view, we've been bitten a little bit before. The FSG, who currently own Liverpool Football Club, there's been issues, but largely speaking, they've been really good owners of Liverpool. Before that, we had Hicks and Gillette, who were another kind of consortium. You know, George Gillette didn't have enough money, so brought Tom Hicks in, and that was a disaster, really. And so we are naturally very cautious on these sorts of things, and we're not necessarily dreaming of big transfers. It's more thinking about what can go wrong because we've been there. And so there are nerves when any new names get put in, especially when it's difficult to see what's in it for them.
Yeah, so we know that Amit Bhatia is part of this consortium that is reportedly leading the bid, and the reports out there suggest that it will be up to a 30% minority stake in Liverpool. We knew that already. What's interesting now in the last few days that's come out is the fact that Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, might also be involved. But it also, I suppose it begs the question, what might they want for their investment? Where will the money go? What will it cost? Will it mean that FSG, the current owners, might lose some of their autonomy? Is that a worry for the fans?
It is, yeah. I think if this purchase does happen, and it is if obviously at the moment, I think if this purchase happens, it's probably a step towards full ownership and a full takeover. I think it'd be one step towards it. I mean, FSG is led by John Henry. It's not just John Henry, of course, but he's an older guy now. He's had his fun with sports. He's been, you know, very successful on both sides of the Atlantic. You know, bringing success to Boston Red Sox and to Liverpool. Both clubs hadn't had it for a long time, and so he's someone who enjoys, you know, owning for winning, really. And so, but he's surely at some point, you know, must feel like, you know, he wants to sort of step away and enjoy the money that will come from selling it. And he'd make a huge profit. He just paid 350 million for Liverpool. It looks like it's valued something close to 6 billion now. And so at some point it is an investment group, and we know that with FSG. So I think it's most likely if this group were to buy 30%, then I would be really, really surprised if they weren't looking at increasing that close to 100% over the next 2 or 3 years. And I think this would be part of that. And then there would be concerns because you're just looking into the unknown a little bit then. And, you know, FSG, for all the problems, have listened to supporters, have made mistakes, but have gone back after feedback. Some of it sort of quite, you know, volatile feedback, but they have sort of listened to them. Whether the new owners would be that, we don't know.
Yeah. OK, well, it's a surprise move, but we will follow this with a great deal of interest. John, good to get your reaction tonight. John Gibbons, their co-host of the Anfield Wrap.
We really do. All hypotheticals at the moment, but something we continue to keep an eye on, as we will be keeping an eye on transfer news coming up in just a second.
Right, let's talk Wimbledon. And from a British perspective, the real headline has come from breakthrough star Arthur Ferry, who was handed a wild card to the tournament but progressed to the semi-final. As you can see, very pleased to say that Arthur joins me now. Arthur, really good to see you. Huge congratulations. What a journey you've been on the past fortnight. Can you even begin to start to sum it up?
Yeah, it's been an incredible fortnight. 6 matches and lots of firsts for me. It's going to take a while to all sink in and process it all, but yeah, it's been incredible.
Because you look at the stats, I mean, you became only the second wild card in men's singles history to make it to the semi-finals. You were ranked 114th in the world when you entered this tournament. Before it began, did you ever imagine that you could get through to the semi-finals?
Yeah, I've always had a lot of self-belief in my ability to play against the top players in the world, and yeah, it was just a matter of stringing wins together, and you know, in those slams, if you want to do well, you have to win a lot of matches. So yeah, that was the case. Past 2 weeks, I was able to back up wins with more good tennis and
Right, let's take a quick look at the weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
Well, the next few days looking largely dry with heat wave conditions for some of us, but you can expect changes over the weekend. It's going to be a mostly fine end to this evening, but the north of Ireland and northern and northeastern parts of the UK will be cloudy. A few spots of rain there as well. Ireland and the northern and eastern parts of the UK are looking fairly cloudy tonight, with further light showers possible. Elsewhere, much clearer. For southwestern Britain can expect a few fog patches. It will be quite warm.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.